Now, Nigeria's main opposition, the People's Democratic Party, says it has not thrown open or zoned its presidential ticket to any region of the country. There had been outrage after media reports quoted the PDP Deputy National Publicity Secretary, Abdullahi Ibrahim, as saying that all Nigerians were entitled to contest for the presidential ticket of the main opposition party. But Abdullahi said he was misquoted out of context, as the organs of the People's Democratic Party, such as the National Executive Committee, National Caucus, and the National Working Committee, are yet to take a decision on zoning. He, however, said all interested individuals who intend to contest for the PDP ticket are free to aspire for the position until the party makes known its position. Well, the man in the eye of the storm, Abdullahi Ibrahim, joins me now for more on the divisive issue of zoning, especially in the PDP. So good to have you, Ibrahim. I mean, your statement sounded as if it was contradictory. You're saying that the PDP hasn't taken a position. You're also asking those who may want to declare interest in that position for the presidential ticket of the party until the party eventually takes a decision on zoning.
That's right.
Isn't that very contradictory?
Well, let me begin by thanking you for the opportunity you have provided for this naughty issue to be cleared by my person who was misquoted, like you earlier said in the background, out of context. The truth of the situation is that, yes, what I said 2 days back to reporters at the PDP headquarters, where I represented the national chairman, was that, yes, PDP hasn't formally taken the position of where its presidential candidate will come from. But it's a party that is founded on the principles of democracy and the rule of law, in which case it allows all the interesting parties in the party and those who are interested in vying for one office or the other to begin to jostle for the offices that are available, particularly that of the president. A lady from, I think, one of the media houses threw that question to me as to why we would not zone the presidency to the southeast. And I was quick to let her know that in democracy and throughout the globe, there's no way power is given on a platter. If the southeast is prepared truly to take the presidency of Nigeria, then there are processes which is inexhaustible in the provision of the PDP. For example, in the background you stated, we have various organs of the party through which these regions or interested members of the party can vie for these offices. These opportunities, like I said, are inexhaustible. You have the zonal caucus, you have the executive caucus, you have the board of trustee, you have the national working committee, and of course the NEC. All of these are organs of the party which in the fullness of time will ratify and come up with a formal position. Most
Nigerians are asking why you are unable to take a decision on time. Because as long as you don't take a decision on time, I mean, aspirants from different parts of the country will be coming to declare. And once you have all of them declaring from the 6th geopolitical zone, won't it be difficult for you to now say you're going to this particular zone and so everyone should queue behind when you've made them to declare their aspiration for the presidency? No, the more the merrier. In democracy and in constitutional democracy like the one we practice, everyone is entitled to throw in their hat in the ring. Yeah, but if you take zoning, if you make your zoning known on time, it will help to dissuade others who have presidential ambitions to actually stay back and maybe support people from that region. Because based on your constitution, you've always done zoning. Yeah. And so everyone is expecting zoning. So why are you delaying on zoning?
There's sufficient time for that to be done. As we speak now, we are letting Nigerians appreciate the benefit of having area of opportunities from those who are jostling for the offices. We have prepared and suitable candidates for the office of the presidency, as opposed to what Nigerians have been going through in the last 7 years under the APC and President Muhammadu Buhari's led administration, where hopelessness and disenchantment by Nigerians and apparent loss of hope is in the air. Nigerians have seemed to be visited by a government that promised everything and they didn't mean one of it. Even the government, the agenda that the government was founded on, anti-corruption, economy, and fight against insurgency, not 10% has been scored to each of these three fundamentals that they
So is the PDP a better alternative?
Of course PDP is. There's no way you compare a government which in 16 years brought Nigeria to the second fastest growing economy in Africa. I mean the fastest growing economy in Africa and the third fastest in the world, compared to our status today as the poverty headquarter of the world.
Yeah, but if PDP is unable to take a decisive action on zoning, do you think Nigerians would actually want to trust you with power again? Because I mean, zoning is something that you should have taken a decision on to show Nigerians how prepared you are. Are you waiting for the APC?
No, not exactly. APC has always taken after us. You can see how we conducted our congresses from ward to local government to state levels and our convention proper a little over 3 months ago. And that brought this current National Working Committee in place. It was a hitch-free exercise from the ward to the national level. Let the APC hold their convention today, the name will be history. There will not be APC.
They've already set February 26th to hold that convention.
This will be the 4th time they are
And that's why I ask you that question. Do you by chance want to wait until after the APC convention before you take a decisive action as PDP?
We do not look at the APC as a political party. It is an assembly of strange bedfellows who do not believe or understand even why they are there.
Well, they are the governing party at the moment and you are the opposition.
Well, it doesn't matter. What I'm telling you, we are the opposition, but we were in government before. We know what it means to be in government. They came with hunger to just arrest and take power, and they succeeded in, usurping power from a very, very progressive party, but the PDP, where even the process of counting was not over. And a progressive-minded president, conceded defeat, congratulated the victor, and then handed over power to him. But we've seen the desperation that the APC has been deploying in their kind of politics, crude mentality, and the arrogance that I have seen. It's only on their APC that Nigerians have come to appreciate that there's arrogance, even in failure. You see people failing in virtually all their promises, in all their expectations. The first constitutional role of every government is the provision of security on its citizenry. You and I know that we live in this country where every blessed day we lose lives of Nigerians than we even witnessed during the Civil War.
Yeah, but some Nigerians will say the PDP has also failed in playing the role of an active opposition to the APC.
That is why we are being careful in the way we approach things. The haste with which you people are expecting us to just declare zoning now, there are processes of consultation and engagement, which is ongoing. We just have in place a National Working Committee, which is barely 2 months in office. What it is doing now is to aggregate all the contending forces and interest and all the divergent views of Nigeria, and aggregate these views then and come up with informed decision as to where the presidency will be zoned accordingly.
And you have been in the PDP for a very long period of time. Why is the issue of zoning so important that the PDP had to insert it in its constitution?
That is to strengthen the spirit of mutual cohesion and unity for the country. We are in a country where there are forces and interests that are divergent. It's a country that is heterogeneous in nature, and therefore you have to look at the diversity that make up the federation called Nigeria and begin to allocate responsibilities to people who are in the federation. If you say one person or the survival of the fittest is the approach that we are going to go about it, I'm afraid we will be defeating the essence. So it's only PDP that has realized the need to zone these offices and rotate them accordingly so that every interest, every region and every contending force within the country will feel among and be taken accordingly.
And as a means of political education, some people will say merit should thrive above zoning. Yeah. But your PDP actually says zoning is very, very critical. But here we are having discordant tunes in your party now where people are beginning to say, look, let's jettison the idea of zoning and go for merit. Which of them is PDP focusing on as we move ahead in our democracy?
Exactly the point I'm trying to make when I told you that we are engaging, we are consulting, we are deliberating.
So is the PDP thinking of jettisoning the idea of zoning?
It is in the table, and it is a factor that is taken very seriously. We are beginning to look at all of this interest and all of this clamor to see how we will come up with informed decision at the fullness of time. It's not something we want to do unilaterally. We take national interest and the divergent views of Nigerians into cognizance in coming up with decision. That's why we are not rushing things, so Nigerians would realize and appreciate that truly the PDP has learned its lessons where it has failed Nigerians, but certainly, even in the failure, it is far better than what the tragedy that we have called governance.
Now, why has the PDP National Executive Committee failed to take a decisive action on the Governor Bala Mohammed report that was presented, which recommended that the issue of zoning for 2023 should be left open? Why hasn't the NEC taken a decision as to whether it will be zoned or not be zoned and all of that? Why is decision on that particular report still pending?
It is ongoing. This is why I told you. Before Bala Mohammed's committee, there was Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi committee, the governor of Enugu State, which had looked at the zoning towards the south. But the Bala Mohammed committee reviewed that and said, let's leave it open in the meantime. And that is the healthy...
and the same Bala Mohammed is also seeking to become a presidential...
He is qualified under the law to do so. That's essentially the reason why we are taking and trading softly, to ensure that all the interests that are involved in this are taken appropriately and analyzed before we come up with informed and decisive decision for the benefit of Nigeria, whom we want to come and salvage from this tragedy called governance.
How did your National Working Committee actually feel after President Muhammadu Buhari, in one of his media chats, actually disclosed to the APC members that if they do not get their acts together, that is a tendency that PDP may come back to power?
He doesn't have a choice. What he is saying is admitting that the doomsday is by the corner. Either way for the APC, I do not see what APC is coming to present to Nigerians in the build-up to 2023. And already, we are in the trenches already. Is the APC coming to tell Nigerians, please, we are apologizing for promising we couldn't deliver? Or no, we have delivered. You people have to trust us again to deliver more. Or we were lying to you people. One of these three must be said to Nigerians when we get properly at the time of the election. It is a tragedy. It is an unfortunate situation for Nigerians. They are in a one-bus and what do you call it, a short-changed government that has come to reap them of
yeah, but some other Nigerians will disagree with you that the PDP is not ready. It doesn't look like a party that's ready to come into power in 2023 because of these issues you have in some of your state chapters. Look at what happened at the Ekiti PDP governorship primaries, for example. A lot of disunity, a lot of people walking away from party primaries. What's the reconciliation effort of the PDP like at the moment? I
began by reminding you that we had successful congresses across the 36 states of the Federation and climaxed with a national convention that was adjudged the best in recent history. The APC is still dilly-dallying, trying to see if they can run away from the doomsday.
Well, they've also held congresses too.
Well, the Congress with about 92 branches of the APC. In some states, they have 5 or 6 leadership.
Well, they have just inaugurated their state executive. And except for 2 states that were not inaugurated, I mean, all the other ones.
I tell you, the APC that I know, my brother Sambo, you are in the newsroom. The APC that I know is over 92 branches today in the Federation. There are states that lay claim to 5
PDP also has problems,
no,
and that's why I just brought the issue of Ekiti
you struggle
to
to bring Ekiti as an exception. And in the case of Ekiti, it is the same dialogue which we are known for that is going on now. We would resolve that matter amicably. It's, contending for power comes with a lot of peculiarities, as it were. And so you would not expect a seamless exercise where it will just come and go without. Power is sweet, and the struggle for power is associated with what you have come to see in Ekiti. But the PDP that I know will surprise you by ensuring that those issues are not only resolved amicably, but that power is taken from the rudderless APC in Ekiti.
Well, Abdullah Ibrahim, just stay with us while we go on this short break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. You're still watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Somna Sambo. Now, there are 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, but the president can only come from one. The question of which zone the next leader of Africa's most populous nation should come from has proved contentious as 2023 approaches. But it's been especially divisive for the main opposition, the People's Democratic Party, which is in a sort of crisis over the issue of zoning ahead of the general election, while some influential members are insisting that the party opens up the contest for its ticket to all sections of the country. Others have called on the PDP to adhere to the power-sharing arrangement which it initiated in 1999 and in the interest of equity and justice. I still have with me in the studio the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Abdullah Ibrahim. And I'll start with this contentious issue of the Southeast and the Northeast too, also thinking that it is their turn to actually produce the presidential ticket of the PDP, the presidential candidate of the PDP, considering that the PDP's constitution actually calls for fair play, equity, and all of that. Don't you think, for example, the Southeast, having been loyal and faithful to the PDP since 1999, deserves this ticket, or even the Northeast too?
Yes, but I would correct an impression you made at the background that it's as contentious as it has been reported out there. No, for the PDP, it's just because we want to do things the proper way this time, as opposed to the way we have watched the APC and even the PDP did in time past. The issue is not as seriously as it is being peddled out there. We are talking, we are dialoguing, we are interfacing.
Well, you can't say it's not serious when someone like Peter Obi says that he's also waiting for the outcome of the zoning decision by your party before he decides to contest.
But you heard him say waiting. That means he's subjected to the whims of the party. He's waiting. If it were contentious, he would not wait. He would just say, I'm already in the presidency and I must get it. Here we are talking about proper channels of engagement, consultation, and dialogue. We are talking, if at the end of the day, the PDP resolves to take the presidency to the Southeast, you will find the entire members of the PDP family queuing behind the Southeast to produce the president. We are doing things the informed way. We have learned some lessons that we don't want to be hasty in drawing conclusion as to where the zoning will go.
And some Nigerians have also said that they want this zoning to go to the north because they feel that the north in the PDP's world hasn't got enough compared to the south in PDP, that the north actually got just 3 years out of 16 years of PDP.
That's right.
While the south actually got the rest.
That's right.
But the north didn't actually put the entire presidential matters on ground, because if you look at the country since 1960, both military and civilian rule, the north has held sway for about 40 years, and then the south for 20. And so a lot of persons actually find it difficult to believe people like Sule Lamido when they come around, or Kwankwanso coming to say that, look, there needs to be justice for the north in the PDP, or else it may lead to mass exodus. Are you afraid that if you don't zone to the south, there will be a lot of mass exodus by southern members of the PDP? And if you don't zone to the north, there will be a lot of mass exodus by northern members of the PDP?
That's not exactly the position. And I need to correct one thing. We don't compute with the days of the military in power. The military interregnum is an aberration.
Sway, and they took decisions on behalf of the country.
Yep. The southern part of the country was involved as well. We had an Obasanjo who was from the south of the country as commander-in-chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces. We had an Agui Ironsi, if you want to add.
Yeah, that's why when you add everything together, it's like about 20 years for the south, and
we
then about 40 years
are talking about democratic government here, the last time I checked. And if we are going to start from 1999 to 2022, this republic that we have, then we'll be talking about which part of the country. And then within the PDP, actually, we have an APC that has come in between this period to alter the arrangement. So I don't think that is the line of thought. But it's not wrong for people who think in that direction to do so. The idea is, let's get to the final days of our discussions, which we're approaching, and then we are going to come up for Nigerians to hear a formal decision of the PDP. And it was going to be an informed and decisive decision that will salvage this country from hopelessness and
so in other words, you've had 6 presidential tickets since 1999. 4 went to the south and 2 went to the north. I mean, Obasanjo having 2, and then Goodluck Jonathan also having 2. And then for the north, you had Yar'Adua in 2007, and then an Atiku Abubakar in 2019. Will this guide your decision as to how to give this presidential ticket to the next zone?
These are likely factors in the discussion, but it's not going to be the prevailing one ultimately. Democracy anyway, it's about numerical strength. If we evaluate what will be in the overall interest of the party, anything that will advance the cause of the party, winning election and rescuing Nigerians from this clueless and hopelessness that that has been visited on them by this APC, that's where we go. Let me tell you, I always criticize this government, and people will ask, why are you so hard on Buhari in particular? I do not hate Buhari as a person, but I have every reason to be opposed to his administration because it affects me as a Nigerian. I have every reason to be opposed to his poor performance, discriminatory policies, disrespect for democratic processes, lack of security, unnecessary air travels, widening
some people say the PDP is neither better. I mean, when you were in power, you were arrogant with power. Why should a lot of Nigerians trust you in 2023? What is the best alternative you could provide if given power again?
Yes, we have reviewed those things, the economic indices of Nigeria, even the social standing of Nigerians as human beings.
Yeah, but we are not receiving those messages as to what you will do. You only just keep saying APC has done this, APC has not done that. What exactly is the PDP going to provide as an alternative that should make Nigerians queue behind you again?
It is likely you've not been following what we're doing. First, during the retreat, we provided options and alternatives to this hydra-headed monster that has been visited on Nigerians. We are talking every other day on
like for example, the economy. What will you do better to reduce the joblessness, to reduce the inflation rate, to increase economic growth and all of that? That's what Nigerians want to hear. What will you do to restore security, to bring back the peace in parts of the country that used to be very peaceful but are now undergoing serious challenges?
Who are the ones that brought the country in this sorry state? Is it not the APC? During the PDP, all you used to hear was insurgency in the fringes of Adamawa and Borno, as it were. 3 states at maximum. And I will correct something very quickly. During the election, the APC came in the build up to 2015 election. They told us that Nigeria was under captivity. Section of Nigeria was in the hands of the insurgents. And there we were with an INEC that conducted election in 770, what was the number? 774 local governments in the country. If any of the local government, as the APC wanted us to believe, in the build up to 2015, was under the captivity or in the hands of the insurgent, why did elections hold in all these local governments, 774, and they lay claims to winning election in these places? So it tells you clearly that Nigeria was secured under PDP, except for the pockets of attack. Yes, Nigeria was under siege with the insurgents in the northeast, but we were at the verge of getting rid of this problem. You will recall that we requested for the shift of the election so that Nigerians would be secured proper for the election to hold. The same APC said, no way, there's nothing, we're just playing politics with the security. And here they have come, and we are not limited to that which we were experiencing. Today we have new frontiers of security challenges in the country.
Yeah, especially in the northwest. Well, the government says they are doing something about it.
Is that not what they have told us?
Well, as we try to round off this conversation, I want you to, in all honesty, tell Nigerians, especially members of political party, in 1 minute, if those from the southern part of the country should be afraid or not be afraid. I mean, southern members of the PDP, considering that a northern chairman is in power, do you think that they should go home and be rest assured that the PDP ticket will not be abused because the national chairman of the party comes from the north?
I like the word you used, abused. That is why we are very careful about this thing. I repeat again, we are cautious about taking unilateral decisions so no part of this country feels shortchanged in the process. It is a party that is premised and founded on the principles of democracy. Consultation, all-inclusive consultation.
So in other words, they should trust your...
They should remain...
Iyorchia Ayu-led National Working Committee.
It is one of the
best...
That
you do justice to every part of the country.
Indeed, they will see a leadership that is never before seen in Nigeria under Senator Dr. Iyorchia Ayu. It's a National Working Committee that is not only prepared, but is decisively informed. Don't forget, he is a member of the first 8 people that founded PDP in 1998.
Very quickly.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Abdullah Ibrahim, the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, for joining us to take a look at critical issues about zoning in the country, especially as it relates to the PDP. Well, that has been for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again next week. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, goodbye and thank you for watching. I'm Somna Sambo.